The Calgary Police Service is currently investigating an undetermined death and seeking public assistance to determine the victim's movements in the days leading up to his death. At approximately 2:45 p.m. on Monday, April the 7th, 2014, police were called to a home in the 200 block of Heritage Drive S.E. A family member asked officers to check on the welfare of a man who had not been heard from in a number of days. A 44-year-old man was found deceased inside this residence. Initially, the scene did not appear suspicious. However, an autopsy completed on Tuesday, April the 8th, 2014, ruled the death as undetermined. The victim has been identified as 44-year-old John Thomas Pollock. The cause of death will not be released at this time. Pollock was last seen by neighbors at approximately 8 p.m. on Friday, April the 4th, 2014. So we are seeking the public's assistance to determine the whereabouts of the victim between the time he was last seen by neighbors in his apartment building and when he was discovered on Monday afternoon. Anyone with information about this case is asked to call City Police or Crime Stoppers anonymously. And I'll take your questions.
Are you aware of what the cause of death was at this point?
I am.
So I'm sure I'm not the only one that's confused by it being called an undetermined death then.
The medical examiner's office will rule undetermined at various cases pending further police investigation. So
Is there reason to believe it's suspicious?
there is, just due to the nature of the victim's injuries.
Without going into details, was there blood trauma involved?
Unfortunately, I just can't release the cause of death.
So you're not saying it is suspicious, but you're not saying it isn't suspicious?
No, we are saying it's suspicious, but we're stopping short calling it a homicide.
Was the man known to police at all?
No.
Are there other ways besides a suspicious death to explain his injuries? I mean, could he have, tripped, fell, fallen down the stairs and therefore had traumatic injuries?
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things we look at is whether or not the injuries that the medical examiner's office found at the time of autopsy, could they be consistent, say, with an accidental fall or a medical related condition. So these are all things that we have to look at prior to, I guess, closing the case and ruling it not suspicious.
Homicide is investigating.
Homicide is investigating.
Anything else? No?
Do you know anything about his movements, like after he was last seen? Anything at all? Is there any?
So we don't. The last time he was seen was Friday, April the 4th at 8 p.m. And that was in and around the apartment building that he lived. And so we didn't discover him until 2 p.m. on Monday afternoon. So that's why we're appealing to the public for any assistance they might have, or anybody that saw this gentleman anytime after 8 p.m. on Friday night, whether it had been later on that evening or into the early morning hours. We would be very interested to hear from those people.
You really said it was his neighbors that called the police to check on him? Is that right?
It was not. It was actually a family member that hadn't heard from him in a couple of days and became concerned.
Was it determined maybe at the scene that he had died early that weekend, so 48 hours before the body was found?
There was some indication from the medical examiner's office that the victim had been deceased for some time.
Do we know which family member was the one to call and was concerned?
It was just a close family member.
Did they have any particular reason to be concerned, or just that, he usually calls 3 times a week and we haven't heard from him? Was he in trouble with anyone or anything like that?
No, exactly. Just because he was in regular contact with family, the fact that over the weekend he wasn't, raised some red flags with the family members and thought that's a little bit odd.
And he lived alone in that apartment?
Correct. Yeah.
Retired?
He's not retired. We're still trying to confirm employment details. Right now, what we have determined is that he was between jobs.
Would he have like a regular group of friends or family that he would see on a regular basis that you have been able to speak to?
So we've spoken to a number of neighbors and the family members that were involved in his life, and but nobody's spoken to him since 8 p.m. on April the 4th.
So you said there was injuries. Did the ME determine that it was the injuries that caused death instead of any sort of other medical condition or anything like that?
Right now, the medical examiner's office has some further tests they need to conduct, one of which is toxicology, which is one of the reasons it's being ruled undetermined at the moment. So pending the results of those tests will hopefully shed some more light on the situation.
So that takes weeks, right?
Sometimes months.